This week, this sorry excuse for a podcast is sponsored by Lilith's Mattresses. Lilith's Mattresses have a unique combination of high-performance straw and hypoallergenic newt-scale filling, which delivers contouring, pressure relief, core support, and a guaranteed 87% lice-free sleep. Oh, that just sounds awful. In my experience, people need a few lice to remind them that they're alive. Nothing like a good rash to focus the mind. Well, I suppose if you want to spend good money on a glorified sack of straws, I suppose you should get one.
Hello, and welcome to Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I, as always, am Russ, aka Morris, and with me is my irascible yet industrious co-host,
Peter Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers. Russ has ever delighted to be here.
I can tell.
Woo! Yeah, no, very, very super pleased, super excited. It sounds like we've got an amazing show this week.
So, how excited do you think you are on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to have to go to at least an 11.
What if you were using my special favourite game in all the world scoring system?
Oh, 22 out of 44.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's worse. Oh, that's gone down. Oh, no.
Welcome to your special scoring system.
Yes, I should stop asking while we're ahead.
I think you should. That would be a strong choice. Strong choice.
Right. Fair enough.
Dear me.
So how about we move swiftly on? And
Swiftly.
How about I ask you, what has caught your eye this week?
Well, the thing is, I've been pootling around, and there is only one thing that has really stood out, that has really caught my attention. That's basically blown me away. And it's actually a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It funded in 9 minutes and smashed its goal. You may be slightly familiar with it. It's from EN Publishing.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, and it's like their previous efforts. I think to get themselves started with their old and new systems, they got something like 45,000. They did like a very popular intellectual property, 5th Ed, Dungeons and Dragons, big expansion for that. They capped 60,000, and now for Judge Dredd. What is the latest news on Judge Dredd? What sort of figures are you up to now?
Well, since you ask.
Yeah. Since I asked.
So as I look at it right now, as we're recording,
yes,
it's £89,875, which I think is somewhere in the region of $110,000.
Hello, your editor Daryl here with a quick Kickstarter update. At the time of posting, the Judge Dredd in the Worlds of 2000 AD Kickstarter is at £98,530, or about $128,040. And Russ has announced that as soon as the Kickstarter crosses the $100,000 threshold, a free Quick Start PDF will be made available on drive-thru, so make sure to check it out. The link is in the show notes.
Yeah, so basically that was against a goal of what, $7,500? So like over 10 times what you wanted.
Yes.
And you go break probably. I mean, this is what, like getting on for less than a week since you started running it.
Yeah, I mean, by the time people hear this,
Yeah.
it'll have been a week and a day. But as we're recording it, it's not a week yet.
It's not a week yet. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, to me that seems like a really, really good Kickstarter. And
really blown away with it.
Yeah, and I've seen some other nice stuff. Like there's been a nice post on Reddit about how to make things less evil, but quite frankly, how to make evil races why they're evil. But I think that really falls more into world building, and we'll talk about that later in the podcast.
Okay.
That sort of motivations and so forth. But no, I mean, I'd say I'm really impressed. That's a lot of money in a very small space of time.
Yes, it is.
So, Bruce, what's caught your eye?
Well, for me, it's been the brand new Pathfinder video game.
Oh, nice. Oh, well, is that called Kingmaker or something?
Yeah, Pathfinder Kingmaker. Do you remember Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights?
I may have some small familiarity with these products. Yes.
So this is basically that. I mean, if you but using the Pathfinder rules. But if you boot it up, basically, you're going to feel an instant familiarity there with the whole isometric view, managing a party, all this sort of stuff, jumping into the inventory screen to move stuff about. It's all very, very familiar, but much more modern graphics and slicker gameplay and stuff. It uses the Pathfinder First Edition rules, which I think Baldur's Gate used. Was it AD&D
Baldur's Gate? Edition? Yeah, Baldur's Gate was second ed basically.
Yeah.
Neverwinter's Night. I'll be honest. I enjoyed Neverwinter Night 2. I never actually played Neverwinter Night because NWN 2 was multiplayer, and actually I was like playing through it with like some friends, and it meant that because it was based off third ed rules, I actually understood what the stats did.
Oh, was that third edition?
That it's 3.5. Yeah.
Well, in that case, people who play this, who have played Neverwinter Nights, because Pathfinder is basically 3.5 updated, so they'll be very, very, very familiar with it then in that case. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm not far into it yet. I haven't really got to the sort of delved fully into the sort of kingdom building aspect of it.
What sort of level do you start off at?
First level.
Okay, yeah.
First level. So you create your character, you meet your fellow sort of NPC characters within the first, 5-10 minutes or so.
Yeah, you're scruffy nerf herders, you go into a cellar, you kill some rats.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. I mean, you start off, you've got to escape a mansion that's on fire while bandits and assassins are raiding it, is how it starts off.
That sounds very in media res, and that's a great way to start a role-play campaign. It
absolutely is, yeah. So I'm really, really, really enjoying it. Definite blast from the past. If you liked Baldur's Gate, if you like Neverwinter Nights 2, I think you will love this.
That sounds really, really recommend. Where do you pick this up? Is this on Steam? Good Old Games?
I got it off Steam. I assume it's available elsewhere as well, but I got it off Steam. I mean, I've got a Mac, so that probably limits my options. It's probably more available to those without.
Okay.
I would have thought.
So people outside of the walled garden might also be able to get it. We think. We haven't checked.
I assume so. I'm 99.9999999% sure.
Daryl here with a quick note. Pathfinder Kingmaker is available on Steam and Good Old Games, aka GOG, and runs on Windows PC, Mac, and Linux, with links in the show notes.
That sounds like you've got some good confidence limits there, so I approve.
Well, shall we do some news?
Oh, yes. What's been happening in the world of role-playing?
So we got Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
What? Get out.
Many people consider that their favourite Star Trek TV show. I do not, but I quite like it.
Hello, Daryl here again. Deep Space Nine is my favorite too. I just wanted to chime in and say that.
You're entitled to your opinions, no matter how wrong they are. So that's okay.
Well, would you like to know some news about Deep Space Nine as it relates to tabletop role-playing games?
This is very relevant to my interest.
Good. So, Star Trek Adventures, as you know, is the current Star Trek role-playing game from Modiphius. So it's a short PDF. Basically, it's got all the stats for the crew of... The listeners can't see this right now, but Peter is dancing around the room. I don't know why.
What can I say? I'm a Deep Space Nine fan.
Fair enough. Okay, so
what we need to do is have a heist from Deep Space Nine. I'll be a very happy man.
I'm sure that could be arranged.
Woohoo! Okay, yeah. So anyway, you were saying Deep Space Nine.
Yes, short PDF from Modiphius. You get the stats of all of the crew of Deep Space Nine. You know, Cisco and Jajier and all that lot. And you also get 2 new playable races for Star Trek Adventures. You get Changelings and you get Ferengi.
Nice.
So it's really short. It's only like £3, £4, something like that. It's not a big book release, and it's only available in PDF format. But if you're a Star Trek Adventures fan, I think it's probably a definite must-have.
Yeah. I could see that being very worthwhile. So, no mention of Bajorans? I suppose they don't really need stats.
I wonder if they were in the core rulebook. I'm not sure offhand. I'd have to
check.
Could
be, actually.
I think they probably were.
I can see the argument for that. But yeah. And no Jem'Hadar? Oh, man. I suppose you just take a Klingon and add some armour and way more aggro, and you're done. Anyway.
Okay.
That's super exciting. Deep Space Nine, now out for Modiphius' Star Trek Adventures, but only available as a PDF. Marvellous.
So those fans of Starfinder, you can now pre-order the Alien Archive 2.
Oh, that's sort of their bestiary for Starfinder, isn't it?
Yeah, so it says over 100 bizarre life forms, both classic and new, from the voracious Akatas and silicon-based Quills to radioactive Pluprex demons and void-dwelling vermin.
Ooh, demons. Bad
Yes.
enough, but now they're radioactive.
And there's also a dozen new races with full player rules containing things from uplifted bears to sentient slugs.
Wow. Okay. Sentient slugs.
Sentient slugs.
Uplifted bears, Russ, I'll be honest, that's causing me a concern. Well, basically, bears are apex predators and will wreck you, generally speaking. So having one that's been uplifted, as in it's now intelligent, I'm presuming they're using uplifted in the sense that David Brin originally used it. Now that's going to be bad for somebody. Possibly whoever the bear is looking at.
Yeah. Well, they're player characters, so...
Yeah. Bear PCs, are they OP in role-playing games? Tune in next week for our topic of the week. Interesting stuff.
I've got one other thing. Bit of a stretch, but we are struggling for news this week. The animated TV show Adventure Time.
Oh yes, the Adventure Zone. Do you mean? Oh no, the Adventure Time.
Adventure Time.
Adventure Zone's the podcast. Adventure Time's the one with the weird kid with the weird dog.
Yeah. So this is Pendleton Ward's show. I'm bringing it up because it is tangentially connected to D&D in that it draws a lot of inspiration from D&D. And also Pendleton Ward was a story consultant for D&D's Tomb of Annihilation adventure.
That's who Pendleton Ward is. Yes, because he did lot work with the Chult setting, didn't he? Yeah.
Adventure Time has come to an end after an 8-year run, 10 seasons long.
Goodness, that's a lot of renewals. Well done, them. Yeah. Yeah.
So Pendleton Ward, he sort of commented on how D&D influenced the show. And he said, I'm just reading this off an interview he did. He said, "When I'm writing an episode, it feels like I'm playing D&D with the characters. The last episode I wrote was called Rainy Day Daydream. I was drawing Finn crawling into this room where he kept a load of magical items, armour and weapons from past adventures. And because I was just winging it at that point in the story, it had the same feeling as playing D&D and stumbling upon a treasure room full of the craziest loot. I was in control of which weapons Finn could pick up. It was fun." And he goes on a little more. But he's repeatedly said just how much the show was influenced by D&D. And obviously he was a story consultant for Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah, nice. Which is like a hell of a thing to have done. And I must say, the little bits of Tomb of Annihilation that I've come across have been very exciting. So
I really like Tomb of Annihilation. It's one of my favourites of the 5th edition ones.
I've not played that. I'm currently set to be playing through Horde of the Dragon Queen. Got a party of kobolds, and we're getting on. I mean, that's basically what's taking up my Saturday in October, when I might otherwise be going to go and watch a show. But, on the whole, I'd rather be playing D&D than watching a show about it. Okay. Old-fashioned as I am.
And now for another consultation with the famed monster psychiatrist, Dr. Phileas Blakemore. Dr. Phileas Blakemore is approaching a mighty dragon's lair. Mr. Coralanth, or should I call you Mr. Destroyer?
Please, call me Coralanth.
Coralanth. Well, Coralanth, it's not often I make house calls like this, but I suppose I can make an exception in this case, because there's no way you're going to fit in my office, are you?
Well, I'm sorry about that. I can't help that you have such ridiculously puny offices.
Well, to be fair, you are 200 feet long.
Yes, and that's perfectly normal for a dragon of my age.
Fair enough. I'm a psychiatrist, of course. I mean, what can I do for you? Why have you asked me to come and see you?
Well, you see, I have a problem.
A problem?
Of an embarrassingly personal nature.
What sort of a problem could a mighty dragon like you have?
I have a dark and terrible secret.
Pray tell.
You see, these coins upon which I lounge. Unfortunately, I'm not actually fond of gold.
What?
It's just a thing.
But you're a dragon.
I know.
You don't like gold.
But it's okay, but have you tasted modern coinage?
It's not really part of my diet.
Well, I can assure you, it's just full of brass and zinc, and have you any idea how fattening those things are?
So why have you collected so much?
Well, I think you'll find, actually, that this is aluminium-coated chocolate coins.
Wait. You're lying on a bed of millions and millions of chocolate coins.
Yes, that's correct.
May I try one?
No.
Oh. Okay. This is an unusual problem, Mr. Destroyer. I don't...
Please, call me Coralance.
Coralance. I've never come across a problem quite of this magnitude.
Yes, I know, it's awful.
I mean, is this causing you difficulty in your daily life?
Apart from being sticky and covered in chocolate.
And that's a problem?
Often, yes. I mean, I quite enjoy the sensation after a while, and I must say, it fits to my body a lot better when I initially warm it up, and then I can just sort of scoosh down, make myself comfortable, but then the coins go out of shape, and as you can see, it does tend to attract wasps.
Has it had any effect on your reputation as a mighty destroyer?
Oh, I've had to keep it a secret. Why, if this came out, I would be the laughing stock.
Oh, dear.
And that would be terrible.
Well, what to do about this? Well, my only advice for you, Mr. Destroyer, is just to change the things you can change and accept the things that you can't.
Well, I suppose I could go and burn down some places until they replace the coinage with more gold-based, but I've grown used to this accommodating chocolate coinage. I suppose thank you for coming out here. Now be gone!
So, out there past the Arkenstone, is it?
Oh, yes. Turn left at the Arkenstone. Pull that lever immediately after it. Otherwise you'll activate a pit trap.
So, how would you like to play our favourite game in all the world?
Oh, would I?
I don't know, would you?
Is it still opposite day? But anyway, moving swiftly on. Yes, let's play it.
Alright then, our favourite game in all the world, where I tell you the name of a Kickstarter and you have to guess what it is from just the name.
Just the title alone. Feeling stoked. Let's do it.
Woo. What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing. Nothing could possibly go wrong. That's what we've established over the past 15 weeks.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Number 1. What is Bunnies and Burros?
Well, it's an old RPG. Like basically, it's for those people that saw the harrowing 90 minutes that was Watership Down and said, you know what? I
That's an
need
experience I wish to recreate.
I need more trauma in my life. And thus Bunnies and Burros was born. You get to play rabbits, like not anthropomorphic ones, actual rabbits, going around doing, I don't know, rabbit things, but being a rabbit is kind of a tough deal.
So that's what it was, but why is it a Kickstarter now?
I guess because they're doing a new issue.
Yes. So it was originally published in 1976. I guess you've got like a million points there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Occasionally I know what things are.
Yes. Bunnies and Burros, a game where you play rabbits. It's not easy being a rabbit. Dangers are everywhere in a hostile world of forests, fields, farms, and certainly for one of my old characters, roads and motorways. I think that's something Angus wrote there, his old characters.
Yes. And let's not forget dogs.
So this is being brought back by Frog God Games with a 200-page book.
Nice.
Okay, we can simple that one. We knew what that was.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
Come on, give me a
Next
challenge.
one. Okay. What, Peter? What is the Pelion Report for Olympus Inc? INC, not INK.
I'll tell you what it is. It's an absolutely smashing title It puts me in mind very much of those old 1970s spy thrillers that you pick up, like, the Andromeda Strain. Something by Michael Crichton is what I'm basically driving at here.
Okay.
The Pelican Brief, John Grisham, yeah. So, what was it called? The Pelion Report.
Pelion, the Pelion Report.
Yeah, and it was for Olympus Inc.
So the Pelion Report for Olympus Inc.
Yes.
And then colon, it tells you what game system it is up.
Ah, fantastic. Yeah, so I'm going to go with my gut and say it's some sort of spy thriller type game. Is it its own system? I don't know. But it's a game that's going to be about some sort of, report, like the Pelion Report, and that's a code name for something. And Olympus Inc. will be the organising body, a bit like Archer, has Isis and Odin and so forth. So Olympus Inc. will be, maybe it's got sort of like, you're all detectives working for a Greek god-themed detective agency, / spy agency, and that's what you're doing. Yeah. So I would definitely pick this up just to see what was going on. So it's a great game.
It's a solid 6 out of 10 now. What you missed on there is it's not a Greek god-themed spy agency.
Yes.
It's a spy agency of Greek gods.
Yeah.
So what's happened here is all of the Olympians have been kicked out of the heavens.
Yeah.
And in the modern world, they've basically formed, instead of sort of, places on tops of mountains like Mount Olympus, it's sort of, they're making some of the world's largest corporations. And so the Titans and the Olympians sort of fight for control of the heavens and earth on a sort of corporate kind of spy espionage kind of level.
Why not? That sounds amusing. I mean, obviously there are problems with Zeus, and Zeus, can you not put that inside that ever?
That does look kind of fun, that, actually. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Does it say what system it's being?
Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds.
And it says special ops, espionage, alchemy, demigods, mythic beings, and modern day collide.
That does sound like the sort of thing that Fast, Furious and Fun Pulp Fiction would run well with Savage Worlds. I'm quite a fan of the system. Definitely looking forward to the new system coming out. So hopefully that will be backwards compatible.
Okay, then the next one.
Yep.
What is Shadows over Drift Chapel?
Well,
It's a slightly longer title than that, actually. I'll give you the full one. Adventure Kit. Shadows over Drift Chapel is the full title.
okay. So Adventure Kit didn't give me like a lot extra because I was going to say it's like a module for something. Maybe Fifth Ed, maybe Pathfinder. Actually, no. I tell you, like, maybe Call of Cthulhu. It's hard to say because Chapel could be like a number of things, but Shadows Over is generally a sign that there's some sort of horror theming going on, and that you've got some sort of Argorribles, a portmanteau coming from Arg, and it's horrible, that's threatening whatever, in this case, Driftwood Travel, compare and contrast with Arkham, Innsmouth, etc. That's how, I'm guessing it's a variation on that sort of Call of Cthulhu theming. That's all I can tell you for that. But yeah, it sounds like it might be good.
Okay, so it's got hints of Cthulhu in there, I'd say, thematically. So I'll give you sort of 3 out of 10 for that. It's a 5th edition adventure kit. They call it an adventure kit. It's like a module for creating like modular locations, encounters, NPCs, plot lines and stuff in a certain world. In this case, it's the world of Gloam, which is a near-apocalyptic Victorian/colonial inspired fantasy realm brimming with black powder and shadowy horrors beyond human reckoning.
In 5th Ed, you say?
In this edition, yes.
Interesting choice. I'm sure they put a lot of thought into overcoming the many obvious technical problems that would go with it.
Look at some of the sort of art going with it. It's quite nice art there.
Yeah, it's got a certain amount of gloom into it. It does. Yeah, it looks like how I would expect such a product title to look. So yeah, meets expectations.
Okay. So next one. Next one is what is the Dawnline RPG.
Well, it's going to be its own RPG. So a novel system and presumably setting as well. The Dawn Line.
One word, Dawnline.
Oh, Dawnline's one word. That's actually interesting. So presumably there's some sort of organisation or something that is concerned, or like organisation might be too strong a word, but it's like sets up the sort of idea that you get from things like what do you call it? That Russian series of novels like Day Watch, Night Watch, Twilight Watch, and you've got like sort of the Dawn Line being this sort of place which is like a boundary, like sort of one of these interstitial places where the forces of night and the forces of day are in conflict. So yeah,
you're definitely close. I mean, what specific creature do you think especially Dawn might be a line for?
Vampires,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as per that, was it the Daywatch books and stuff? So you've got like forces, hobgoblins, vampires, trolls, all sorts of supernatural weirdness on one side, on the other side. So Dawn Line. No, I can't get a lot more than that from the name. Okay. There's all sorts of interesting things it could be.
I think you probably got half of it there, so I'll give you 7 out of 14.
Okay.
This is it's an interesting concept. It's a vampire RPG, as you kind of guessed. It's set on this world where night and day are places, and all of society lives in the twilight in between. Mm-hmm. And there's this group of vampires, and their role is protecting a nomadic village.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
There's a bit of a role reversal there. So the vampires, they defend on the village for blood and companionship, because without the humans they would starve.
Okay.
And at the same time, the village depends on the vampires to sort of protect them from the various monsters and creatures and things.
Wow, they took the people as cattle metaphor and just really straight out made it on the nose. Well, yeah, I mean, it's got something to be said for it. It's all the devil's in the details. Have they got any bit more sizzle to go with that sauce?
Let's have a look. So, the Dawn Line takes place in a land of deserts, steppes and badlands where water is scarce and food is hard to come by. Worse, every living creature must constantly migrate west to flee the obliterating light, which lies on the other side of the Dawn Line. So this nomadic village is constantly on the move, presumably, in front of basically the Terminator.
Yeah,
is that what it's called, the Terminator?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
And I'm not talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger here.
Well, your chances are a lot better with him than with this stuff. It sounds like you got some sort of... Okay, so you've got blazing sunshine that just like destroys everything underneath.
But if you go too far west, you end up in the dark.
Yeah.
Where lots of horrible things are. So you've got to stay in this twilight band,
so it's all
constantly on the move.
Yeah, again, literal shades of grey. And so that's why it would make a certain amount of sense to stick with the vampires for... It's interesting.
What's this last one? I don't know if you've heard of this one. It appeared on Kickstarter this week. Apparently it funded in about 9 minutes. That's quite interesting. So I don't know if you can guess this one at all. What is Judge Dredd and the Worlds of 2080?
Well, it's a tricky one. 2080. Like, wasn't there a film about that? It's some sort of like spaceship and a monolith. I remember the space era fuse was very... Yeah, so basically you have a spaceship that's going to Jupiter.
No, that's 2001.
That's 2001.
That's the sequel. It was the year before.
Anyway.
Let's skip that one, shall we?
Let's skip that one. Yeah.
Okay, that was just sneaky of me, wasn't it?
Shocking.
How
could anyone see through such subterfuge?
You're clearly on the ball today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of the game for this week.
Hooray! And excellent fun to be had in playing it. You know, I always thought Bunnies and Burros was actually like a joke.
I've never played it.
No, well, I thought it was a joke that was in like was it Dork Tower? They talked about playing Bunnies and Burros and Tunnels and Trolls. I thought, clearly joke systems that don't actually exist because they're riffing off Dungeons and Dragons. No, these are actual things.
Tunnels and Trolls. Yeah, it's Bunnies and Burros. Yeah, it's quite an old one, isn't it? But I've never played it myself.
But yeah, Watership Down, the RPG sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so what is our topic this week? Our topic
of the week is something that every games master, storyteller, or dungeon master in the world will have to do, even if only in the tiniest amounts. World building.
World building,
yeah.
The building of worlds.
Don't sound too infused.
It sounds like the plot to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Alright, calm down, Slarty Bartfast. And also it was world destroying in the first one, to be pedantic. which of course, and technically correct, which as we know is the best kind of correct.
Right.
Yeah. World building. Basically, no matter what you're doing, whenever you're doing a role-playing game, you will have to do a little bit of world building. Because even if you're running a module, players, being players, will come up with something that is outside the realm of what it is. No matter how detailed the description, you will sometimes have to go off script and create something which nobody else has done before to fit into the question that was asked. Like it could be someone asked, what colour is that wall? And it's not specified, so they say, I don't know, it's grey.
So last week we very briefly touched on this, didn't we, before we moved on? But we discussed the idea of doing a top-down or a start small.
Daryl here with a quick reminder if you missed last week's show. Top-down design means you start with the largest levels, the entire world or the entire country, and then start working inward, while start small means starting with the immediate area the players will be in, like a starting village or a space station, and then expanding outward when necessary as you go.
Yeah.
Two sort of contrary ways of doing it.
Absolutely.
And I was a fan of the start small. Which side did you come down on that?
Oh, I'm definitely start small as well.
Yeah.
Because top-down is excellent practice in many ways. Brilliant if you're writing a novel. Maybe less good if you're running a game for players.
If you're J.R.R. Tolkien, of course, and you're building wood, the first thing you have to do is devise a very, very extensive and complicated elven language.
Absolutely.
Before you do anything else.
If you don't have the grammar, then just get out and you're wasting everyone's time. Make it all sense. And then you have to write songs in this as well.
Yeah, so of course Tolkien is the obvious top-down approach.
Yes.
Where he mapped it and he developed languages and he developed the entire thing.
And you can read about it in what I will, at the risk of sounding unpopular, describe as excruciating detail. I personally have not read the Silmarillion. There we go. We do keep up.
I don't read books if I can't pronounce the title. That's my one rule. I only have one rule in life, and that's my rule. The number one rule: do not read a book if you can't pronounce the title.
Well, yeah, that's the nature of the thing. And to be fair, Tolkien's had a huge influence. Like, there are many, many fantasy books filled with funny names. Basically names that don't make any sense and that are hard to pronounce. And I'm like, not first.
So how many worlds have you... I always find the phrasing odd, but how many worlds have you built in your sort of gaming career?
Seriously?
No.
Seriously, as in I put time, effort, and thought into constructing them.
Go on.
I would say probably like 4, which is not a big number. It's a really small number.
Yeah.
But these are worlds that I keep returning to. Yeah. Like, I'll do stuff for one-offs and one-shots, and I'll go visit other people's creations. But things that I have put a lot of time and effort into, to thinking about, to realising the world, I've really only done about 4 properly. A way many people start off is they pick up a module and go with that, and that's got a lot of advantages.
That's always a good way to do it.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the Forgotten Realm. There's a lot of information written about it, and at some point, I may read some of it.
Yeah, I'm not a Forgotten Realms lore expert by any stretch of the imagination.
No. A lot of people seem to really like it, and that's awesome. I'm super happy for them.
I don't know how true this is, but I read somewhere someone once said that Forgotten Realms is like vanilla ice cream in the sense that it's the most popular ice cream in the world, but it's not usually anybody's favourite. It's everybody's second favourite.
Yeah, it's very, very reliable sort of thing.
I don't know if that's true with Forgotten Realms. I think there's a lot of people out there that really is their favourite.
And absolutely, fair play to them. Like, if you've read a lot of the Drizzt books, so if you were to go, if someone said, oh, well, the game is set in this place and has a player, that means that you're like, oh, actually, I know what this is like. And it's like these conceptual hooks. You say something isn't this, it's like this. And there's a space for historical sort of, or pseudo-historical role-playing, where you say it's actually set in, say, 15th century France, and you're all playing musketeers.
So how realistic do you worry about the economics of worlds?
Yeah, sometimes.
Because I'm definitely very much anti doing that.
No, absolutely.
I'm very happy to gloss over that. And if someone points out that doesn't work, it's like, well, whatever. It's a game.
I mean, you used to have that old, that tripod of gamist, narrativist, simulationist.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, that's like now considered to be less accurate. But yeah, I find it useful has like an intermediate model. So the simulationist aspect would be what we'll be talking about, and spending money on stuff, is it important? Yes, but I think it's better to sort of game it a bit and abstract it out.
I think it's when you realise sort of you're carrying in if you look at the sort of the economics and how much things cost in a sort of role-playing rule book, and then you apply that to say the salary of an average farmer, and then the amount that you've got in your pouch and stuff, it just completely breaks down. Completely. But I also think that doesn't matter. And there's a really good book you can get. Have you ever seen it? It's called A Magical Medieval Society, Western Europe it's called.
Oh, that's very interesting. And yeah, but I mean, just looking at what you're talking about for a second, like the difference in wealth, that would explain why people become adventurers. Because it's like, I could be a farmer, it's safe, but I get like a copper piece a day, or I could be an adventurer, may well get killed, guaranteed to fill my pockets with lots and lots of money, wealth beyond the dreams of avarice, quite literally. Anyway, so what's this? Medieval Europe has a magical society? Sorry.
Magical Medieval Society, Western Europe it's called. It's by Expeditious Retreat Press. And it came out about 20 years ago. I think they may have updated it a couple of times over the years.
Yeah.
And so you can get it from Drive-Thru-RPG and you can get print versions as well.
Yeah.
But basically, it is quite an interesting book that it really does kind of delve into a lot of the nitty-gritty. I mean, it's fairly sort of Western Europe themed, but it delves into the sort of nitty-gritty of world building. So it goes into economies and sort of royal titles and all this sort of detail that you need to sort of furnish your world with to give it sort of... And it goes into just like things like the prices of different commodities and all sorts of stuff, trade... all sorts of stuff, law, politics. You know, so it may be more detail than some people need, and it's probably more detail than I've ever used building a world, but it's definitely sort of eye-opening. Yeah,
I think it's sort of good to have background knowledge. Like, actually, one of my things that really turned me onto world building would be stuff like Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs and Steel.
Oh, well, no, what's that one?
Well, it's a history of everybody for the last 50,000 years. And it's a book by a chap called Jared Diamond, who's a scientist who's got a variety of disciplines, and there is some dispute about the details of what he says, but broadly it looks at how the modern world came to be.
So how would you sort of use that in, because, you know, we're talking about world building in an RPG context. I mean, how much of that would you sort of tend to use when building a world?
I would dip in and out. I think one of the interesting things is generating a map. So there's lots of different ways, like throwing dice, and then the type of dice and the number it shows has a thing. That is a way. I need to look into that more, because I think that would be a very interesting way to make a map. Or you could just have a sketch. If you have mountains, then from the sea coming in, all the rain will be on one side, and then you have like what's called a rain shadow, which is places which are on the other side and they don't get the rain. And that sort of leads naturally to deserts and so forth. And then that helps you have the places which you can then steal the various cultures that you're going to rip off. Because let's face it, most of fantasy is ripping off another culture. So rainfall tells you what sort of terrain you'd get, and that tells you like whether you have hunters or herders, or like, you know, a civilization. Like having a civilization in the middle of the desert, sure, why not? But why is it in the middle of a desert? It sort of helps build up the world in your head. But if you get in your head a vision of like this magnificent white pillared city smack bang in the middle of a desert surrounded by the ruins of ships, then that's brilliant. You should make that. Why is that a thing? What events have led to this? And I'm just describing Tarsis from the Dragonlance series, and that's a brilliant, you know, the white-winged ships of Tarsis. A brilliant like turn of phrase, really evocative.
Yeah, because the sea was seeded long ago.
Yeah, exactly, because of the cataclysm of Kryn. And then it's like, you know, so Tarsis, what effects has this had on the city? Like, trade has gone, so the city has like large sections of empty parts. But, you know, but some things have still sprung up, like caravan routes, because there's a place for it to go. How are the people being fed? Is there water? That sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, so have you got any sort of favourite D&D settings that you like?
I've not actually had a chance to play that much in regular D&D.
All right. I mean, so you're not fond of Forgotten Realms all that much, which I'm kind of on board with you on that.
It's I'm not against it, but like you're saying, it's a bit vanilla for me. Places I like that I've enjoyed. Barovia, Ravenloft.
I'm a big fan of Ravenloft. Always have been.
Like the Spelljammer. I mean, to be fair, all the D&D settings I've heard of, well, not all of them, but Al-Qadim, the Arabian-themed one, Spelljammer, with the ships flying through the sky, and Ravenloft, the horror, I would be 100% on board with playing in those games. What about you?
I've always been a Dragonlance fan, because I think Dragonlance was my sort of gateway into D&D. And I read the Chronicles and the Legends back when I was a teenager.
Yes.
And then Ravenloft, obviously, I've always been quite a big fan of. Other than that, I've played a little bit in the Forgotten Realms. I'm not, it's kind of like a sort of default go-to setting, but it's not sort of narratively in any way my favourite, I don't think. Never played Spelljammer. I've always quite liked the idea of Planescape. Never played in it, but I've read bits and pieces about it. I've always quite liked the sort of thematic elements of that. That's always seemed fun. I'm trying to think of the other D&D settings. There's so many of them over the years.
Yeah, well, you got like Greyhawk and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Greyhawks was sort of one of the original, was pretty much the original apart from Mystara, wasn't it? So that's very much a sort of more along the lines of Forgotten Realms, and it's a nice sort of strongly themed kind of setting like Ravenloft or Spelljammer or something that's got a strong hook.
Yeah, there tends to be a certain amount of vaguely Western Europe. You've got barbarians, often orcs.
Well, of course, Greyhawk also provides most of the names of the things in D&D, so the spell names and the magical items and stuff like that. Anything that's named has got like a wizard's name, sort of like
Beast Grasping Fist.
Or Mordenkainen, all that lot.
Right.
So they're from the Circle of Eight in Greyhawk.
Oh, okay.
And so there's 8 powerful wizards, and Leomund and
tiny chest and tiny hut thing.
Tensor.
Oh yes,
So there's
floating discs.
Yeah, so there's a few of them. I mean, they're all Greyhawk characters,
right,
from back in the day. A lot of them were played by.
And they sort of moved over to Forgotten Realms. But the spell names have.
The spell names have,
but not the actual characters.
Yeah. The characters. A lot of those sort of characters were player characters in Gary Gygax's early games. So they'd be like his family or friends, and they'd come up with these characters.
Yes.
Like Drawmage.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Jim
Ward backwards, and that was Jim Ward's character, for example.
Yeah,
and there's a few of them like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's also a brilliant way to do world building. It shouldn't just stop with the GM, and that is the thing I like. Every time I do a game, what the players say is true, and it's sort of building up this sort of canon of things they create. I don't think a lot of people really value that, and I could see that potentially there is the opportunity for people to abuse it or whatever. But having people say, "Well, this thing is true about my character," is a brilliant leaping off point. Because it means that this being true means instant buy-in for your game, and it also gives you stuff. It lets you know what your players are interested in.
Have you ever tried random generation then for world building?
Tables and so forth.
Rolling dice on tables.
Well, I mean that's something that I'm sort of quite interested in. But I know you've done like a lot more work on that. I mean, what drew you to that?
The first time I think it might not have been the first time I saw it. It was the first time I remember seeing it, at least. It was Fass's old Star Trek RPG back in the 80s. And they had these random tables for coming out with new creature races, new alien species, and planets and stuff. So you'd randomly determine their climate and the dominant species and all that sort of stuff, which is all quite fun. And so I've always been inspired by that.
Yeah.
And I know things like Traveller and plenty of other games do that sort of sci-fi games do that sort of thing. I'm fairly sure that some fantasy games do that. I'm just at a loss to think of.
I think it would be entirely possible to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, because like Alien Worlds and so forth, you expect semi-random, but to me that would sort of like affect my immersion a bit. Because I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. This is bizarre.
Yeah.
How did this come about? But on the other hand, it's a brilliant prompt.
Yeah, but I think it depends on your sort of genre you're playing. If you're playing something like Star Trek and you think back to some of the weird, really odd places they've been, conceptually they're just so silly. Like Roman world, or and things like that. They are a bit daft, but
it's like or Spring Gore, where the springiest spring of the spring people is the one who will lead them.
I guess it depends whether you're willing to buy into the sort of kitschiness of it or not.
Yeah, it depends upon the flavour of your game. And people like NPCs. I mean, if you need to create an NPC, like you can do it by planning, or you can do it on the fly. And how do you prefer to do it?
Well, NPCs, depends on the system. Generally speaking, D&D is quite good in that there's so many generic NPC stat blocks that pretty much any NPC you can just say he's a bandit and there's a bandit stat block, and you can just modify it slightly. You don't really need to do much unless you really, really need this NPC to be very unique. Most you don't.
Oh, that's interesting.
Most NPCs don't need to be unique, especially if they're just walk-on parts. Then again, sometimes it is fun to sort of lovingly craft your master villain down to the last detail. And I can find that quite good fun, in which case I'll do an actual character for them and pay a lot of attention to it. Just because the process of it, and it puts that villain in your head a bit more.
You know what? That's really interesting. Because I've realised I don't actually make villains in my games.
No?
No. I never thought about it until you were talking about it. But no, I just don't make them. I make, like, occasionally horrendous monsters.
Yeah.
Or
well, there'll be like... Villain,
or there's weird social pressures. Like, goblins are invading, but because I'm always asking why.
Presumably the goblins have a leader of some kind.
Yeah, the goblins will have a leader. Yeah. But the reason the goblins would be invading might well be because it's like the goblin leader is empire building. But I would generally have it because I like to have, like, unnecessary things complicated, see geek above, because the goblins are invading because something even more terrible is causing them to shift.
Sure, but then maybe that's your villain then.
Yeah, but then it depends upon whether they dealt with the Goblin Menace first.
Yeah, sure.
And then you have to have your campaign go on long enough.
Yeah. I quite like... I remember a villain I had that wasn't a villain. It was this little girl, and she was like 8 or something.
Yeah.
And she was the personification of evil. But she didn't know it, and she was perfectly sweet.
Oh.
What she didn't know that she was the actual personification of actual evil.
Right.
And so she was the main villain in the entire campaign. But the players, they were like travelling with her at one point, escorting her. I had no idea that she was actually the main villain in the entire thing, which was great fun.
Yeah, I mean, this reification, this saying this is a real concept of an abstract for good and evil. I think that's something that D&D really leans into. But I must say, from like sort of a moral viewpoint, I kind of disagree. You know, like morally saying that someone could be inherently good with a capital G.
I think it depends on the genre, though. I mean, sort of Emperor Palpatine is evil, and Strahd is evil, and I'm trying to think of.
But well, actually, no. That's one of the things. While Strahd does evil acts, the exploration of his motives in Curse of Strahd and why he is this way are down to his choices. It's not like he's propelled by the essence of evil. It's his choices and their consistency which have led him down an evil path.
But at the end of that path, you've got an evil character, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And things like mind flayers. I mean, is there anything that's undisputably evil? Devils, demons?
Well, I think devils and demons, just because... Yeah. I mean, they're a fictional thing anyway, but their basic definition is that they're evil.
Absolutely.
That's their core concept. Without them being evil, they're not really devils and demons, are they?
But going back to this concept of it's the people that really get you interested in stories, motivations. Like devils, demons, they're motivated for doing whatever, but I find that makes them unsatisfying antagonists because it's sort of, if you understand someone's motivations, then that makes them sympathetic, but you can't understand their motivations and their goals, but just completely disagree.
I guess it depends how much detail you need as well.
Yeah,
I mean, for some villains, really, you don't need much detail at all, do you? Because they're... I'm playing, I mentioned before, like the Starfinder playtest, and they're sneaking through this little dungeon, and there's a villain in the dungeon who's like, just slight spoilers, dominated this. He's a hobgoblin who's like dominated this goblin tribe, and he's making them do stuff for him.
Exactly.
But he's going to be in the player's line of fire for probably Well, they're going to meet. They're going to meet
3,
him tonight.
4
They're
combat
literally going to meet him tonight.
Oh, marvellous.
So basically, you go through this dungeon, and he's at the back in this sort of temple room where he's doing nefarious stuff, and you fight him, and there's you don't need a lot of detail for that guy.
No,
and you don't need to know his backstory. I mean, he's got a backstory to be fair, but you don't really need to know it.
Well, he's a hobgoblin. He's interested in exerting power over others, and acquiring loot and treasure. Like greed is his primary motivation. But sometimes you just want a villain with an understandable motivation that ideally is not easily met without inflicting terrible things upon the party. Should we talk about the difference between homebrewing and hacking?
Okay. And is there a difference?
Oh, I think there's a massive difference.
Okay.
Well, what I like to say is a difference. To me, if you're just playing around with the setting, you're not changing the rules.
Yeah.
And that to me is a homebrew. If you're playing around with the actual game design itself and the game balance, that's a hack.
Okay.
As in, computer programming, you're hacking around.
Yeah,
so if you take things out, put things in.
I think historically I'd have just called both of those homebrewing.
Oh,
but
I
think hacking is a more modern term when it comes to tabletop RPGs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shows I'm a bit of an old fogey.
No,
I guess.
Well, it's basically one I was coming up with because I'm 100% okay. I really like it, in fact, when people homebrew stuff.
Yeah.
Because they change, it's different flavours, it's different cultures, interesting stuff is going on, and but then I'm also playing a game. And if you're hacking the game, you're changing the underlying rule set, and that not everyone's a game designer, not everyone's a good game designer, and the chances are that if you are changing the rules or something, you're going to break something that you didn't foresee breaking.
I often find that it's mildly frustrating as a game designer when people get your game, they glance through it, and then immediately suggest house rules they'd like to make to change it. And it's like, well, A, you're not particularly familiar with it yet because you've just glanced through it, and B, you haven't tried it as written yet. Yeah. And try it as written first, and then from an informed position, start making your own house rules. But I always think just glancing through a book and then just immediately starting to change it. It's like, well, okay, you can do what you want. It's your game. You've bought the book. It's your book. But
it does seem a bit silly because when you've designed a game, you've spent hours and hours fiddling with
balancing mathematics and all sorts of stuff.
And that's why I like to make the distinction between hacking and homebrewing, because to me, hacking is actually a bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm considering a hack for my 5th ed game, but that's after I spent a couple of years learning how to play and run the game. Yeah. A lot of it's
it's not to say that's bad, wrong, fun or anything. If you want to do that, go ahead and do it. It's just from a game designer's point of view, when sort of people approach you and the first thing they say is how they're going to change the system, which you think try it first and then change it.
Absolutely, yeah. What I do like is reskinning. So rather than having just random elves and half orcs and whatever.
Yeah, well, that's a super easy way to homebrew something, isn't it? Just to reskin.
No, in fact, one of my games, the elevator pitch, which is fairy tales, where they are essentially going through the lands of turning seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, and each of those has a fairy queen in charge, and they're gallivanting around, finding out how this world came to be. I said that players could play anything that they wanted found in fairy tales. Right. So I've got one person playing a summer diva, which I think I got that right. That's sort of have you ever heard of the Swan Princesses of Cool? No. It's Russian, and you got references in Irish mythology. It's basically these women who would change into swans. Okay. And then would fly away, except there was a guy who stole one of their swan cloaks and married her, and it all ended terribly because that's how fairy tales work.
Yeah, they're usually not very nice.
No. Yeah, none of my players appear to have noticed this just yet, but give them time. It's only been 2 years. But yeah, and to do that, I reskinned an Azamar. Yeah. Because those weren't things in my setting. But the rest of it, it's things like Volos, has rules for goblins, but I had, if people wanted to play a goblin or a pooga or a bugbear or what have you, I had banned half orcs, half elves, halflings from the player's handbook and would allow people to do stuff. So my wife wanted to play a giant, so I just used a half orc.
Sure, okay. You can do that with monsters too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite easy. You just take a monster stat block, reskin it, and
Absolutely. That's like the OG idea, which let me think about how to reskin player races. Because, like, taking a troll and giving it like an extra 3 or 6 eyes and have it explode into fiery beetles. And that's a real life example, by the way, from a game I was in not too long ago. Yeah, that's a perfectly legitimate way to do stuff.
Daryl here one last time to remind you of our Patreon at patreon.com/Morris. The guys went on for a very, very long time about world building, and the deleted scenes and outtakes episode this week is going to be almost a full hour. Coming up, the guys are about to go through the steps to create a fantasy world by using the random tables from Ian Publishing's NEW role-playing game, and I've heavily edited down the process. But if you want to hear all the brainstorming and ideas this generated, plus a lot more content, including a guest appearance or two from Russ's dog Django, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Morris, and you'll get access to all the previous deleted scenes and outtakes episodes, along with new episodes the day after the main podcast posts. And I promise this will be the last time I interrupt on the main show this week.
I've got a fun idea.
Yes.
Why don't we try randomly creating a planet? Just for a laugh.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just see what happens. See what wacky results we get.
So what we're going to do is we're going to use a science fiction world building random table, and then we're going to make a fantasy setting out of it because it sounds fun.
Okay. So, first thing, then it starts at this like star level and then goes all the way down to civilization.
Yeah.
So the first thing you would do is you're going to determine what type of star system this world is in. And to do that, you're going to roll a d6. So this is going to end up creating a world probably a lot more different to our world than, say, the Forgotten Realms is, which tends to sort of have standard climates and days and that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a lot more different to our world.
Yeah, but so it won't be like our world, but it will still be fantasy. So that could be a really interesting way. So d6.
D6.
Okay, I've got a 4.
So this world is a binary star system.
Ooh, nice. Binary star system. Okay, so we've got
need
2
to
suns
determine
now.
what each of these 2 stars are.
Yeah.
So you can roll d66 twice.
D6. Oh, sorry.
66 is you roll d6 and d6 separately, and one's tens, one's the units.
So I've got a 42.
42. So the first one is a brown dwarf.
Okay, we've got a brown dwarf.
And the second star is
a 51.
So 51, an ultraviolet supergiant.
Wow. That sounds pretty interesting. What happens next?
Then we're going to see how many planets there are.
Okay.
So there's going to be 2d6.
Okay. Yeah, because you very rarely consider anything more than one planet when you're doing the fantasy stuff, do you? So I've got 8.
So 8 planets. Well, interestingly, I think Galarian, which is the Pathfinder thing, they talk about other planets in the system.
Yeah.
In the solar system. So I think they have a little more sort of standard solar system cosmology model.
Yeah.
And then they've kind of expanded that with Starfinder, haven't they?
Actually, if you think about it, a lot of the spells in D&D allow you to travel between places. So yeah, like actually being able to see the signs of civilizations up in the sky.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Right, so normally you would then go through each of those 8 planets and determine which one each is. Let's not worry too much about that and assume there's a sort of selection of rocky planets, asteroid belts, ice giants, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But one of them is going to be a rocky planet, which is going to be the one we're going to be setting this on.
So, okay. So
it could be any of them.
But we'll put at least one rocky planet. Do you want to? Shall we do the others and see?
Well, you can. It's just I'm not sure how much fun listening to us just list them out.
Okay. What are they?
There's 8 of them.
I've got a rocky planet, an asteroid belt, a rocky planet, an asteroid belt, a gas giant, another rocky planet, an asteroid belt, and an ice giant.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think realistically,
let's just pick one of the rocky planets as being.
Okay, first one, rocky planet.
The first one, you write 1d6 for its basic size.
Okay, I've got 1.
1, so it's a dwarf planet.
Okay.
So it's about the size of Pluto.
I thought you said it was a planet. No.
That's that planet's basic sort of size, gravity.
Okay,
so that's already going to start defining what sort of life forms you've got in there.
I'm thinking maybe sort of bird people seems like some sort of migratory bird people. That says to me.
So the atmosphere, you're going to roll for a barren planet 2d6.
Okay. Do we want to do different atmospheres? Because that would reduce the capability of different people to mix.
Well, I think we can assume that the civilization that lives there is able to breathe its atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, but like part of the joys of doing it this way is we just realised we can actually have a separate world, and if they've got the same atmosphere, it means that they're more likely to be able to talk.
Okay, well, just assume it's an Earth-like atmosphere.
Yeah, Earth-like atmosphere.
Move on from there.
We'll put our thumb in the scales, and that's an important part of world building, where you say, actually, I've got this cool idea, which is I want I've got 2 rocky planets. I want the people on them to be able to talk to each other.
So I've got this section here on naming planets, and I've just got a whole list of suggestions like Roman gods, Greek gods, Egyptian gods, Greek titans, mythological creatures, astronomers, cities, demons and devils, Slavic folklore, Chinese mythology, all Shakespearean names, loads and loads of names that you could just like... Because I always kind of like the idea, if you're designing a star system, all the planets in it would be named after a certain theme.
Yes.
Because I think that's how explorers would actually start to name these things.
Yeah, because I ran that What's Old is that new game for you, and it was like Tiamat, and then all the planets were colour coded.
Yeah, okay. So here's one. Alter egos: Clark, Diana, Bruce, Wally, Oliver, Selena, Oswald, Dinah, and John. The Justice League.
Yeah. And so shall we have a look and see if we can do a bit better with the other rocky planet that we had?
Okay. We know it's a rocky planet, so 1d6 for its size.
Okay. 3.
This is average. So it's basically an Earth-sized planet, this one.
Okay.
This is going to end up slightly different to that one. Number of moons, 1d6 minus 3.
5 minus 3 is 2.
2 moons.
2 moons.
And also, a planet of this size has a small chance of having rings. Which would be quite exciting. Only a 1 in 6 chance though. So roll d6. If you get 1, it's got rings.
No rings.
That's unfortunate.
Okay.
And then 2d6 just for its general type.
I've got a total of 4.
4. So this is an icy world.
Ooh.
Hoth.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll say icy world in general.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be areas that are warmer and, generally speaking.
But maybe that means that we've got quite a more of a restricted place where civilization grows, and then it becomes a bit icier elsewhere.
Yeah. So what you would now do is you create the civilization itself.
Okay, yeah.
So the general type is 1d6.
Okay, I got 6.
So it's a very militaristic world, and its wealth level again 1d6.
Again 6.
And it's super rich.
Okay.
So it's a very, very wealthy civilization and a very militaristic civilization.
Okay.
The government, you roll 2d6.
Okay. So I've got a 5.
Right, we've got a fascist state. Doesn't sound like a very nice place, this. So we've got an icy world, fascist state, super rich, with a militaristic... Ooh,
yeah.
I don't think I'd like that place at all.
No, it's quite interesting, though. We're definitely getting a very strong, unusual theme. And then across the way, we've got a dwarf planet. And to me, like, militaristic, super rich fascists, they look like the bad guys to me. Or like they could be a major antagonist.
And then, if you wanted to, you could go on to a random species creation to work out what the dominant life form is like.
Oh, interesting.
So rather than having an orc or a goblin or a human or an elf, you just have a completely random one. Okie dokie. Random species.
Yeah.
That could be a evil militaristic dictator race on this ice planet.
Why not? Primary antagonist.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can essentially allow our imaginations to do the rest, or well, I mean, would you just like roll everything randomly? And then...
No, I think rolling randomly gives you a starting point.
Yeah.
It's used for inspiration.
Yeah.
It's a way of breaking writer's block, or if you got a better idea in your head already, go with that rather than rolling definitely. But if you sort of think, right, I just need something now, make a few dice rolls, something will click in your head, and you are.
Yeah, and having a fantasy setting where you've got 2 sort of planets that can see each other and are aware of the civilizations on the other, that sounds like it could be pretty exciting. Yeah, well, we've created a star system. We've got the potential for quite an interesting plot, which is how to get it going. We've sort of got a Renaissance civilization, which is still balkanized to some extent, and you've got these bright yellow muscular humanoids with their acidic blood, and maybe they're working on elementary spaceflight, or they've got the magic to get it going.
Yeah,
maybe
maybe they've seen this other planet and their greatest goal is to reach it and conquer it. Whereas the other people on the other planet don't know that these guys are evil, because how would they know? And they're looking forward to welcoming them.
Well, exactly. Or like they're living on their own particular place, which is like they're trying to get around, and either they're living underground or they're like staying in the dawnlight, as it were.
Yeah. So I think that's it for today. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. I hope that you've learned a few useful little tips, and if you haven't, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. So that's goodbye from me, Russ.
That's goodbye from him. It's goodbye from me, Peter.
See you next week.
Listening to that drivel just made me feel nauseous. Maybe a spot of eyeball raking will make me feel a bit better. But which one shall I torture? I do enjoy Russ's screams, but Peter makes these wonderful gurgling noises when he's in pain. Decisions.